Hello and welcome to my tutorial on how to implement a streak functionality in FlutterFlow. Very quickly, what is a streak? A streak means that if you use the app and do an exercise, for example, every consecutive day you add to the streak. So you have a 1 day, 2 day, 500 day streak, and it's a gamification method to encourage users to stick to their resolutions and plans. Very effective, very basic, and you probably want to have a streak functionality if you're doing any kind of habit tracker, meditation app, exercise app, learning app, etc. So what we need to do basically is set up a boolean streak eligible and then check if the user has exercised the day before, and if he exercises again on this day, we will add 1 to the streak. Then we'll have to deactivate the streak eligibility because we do not want to add to the streak on that same day if the user exercises again. And the next day we want to reset to streak eligibility if the user visits the app again, because we want to be able to add to the streak. So what you need to do is set up a Firebase project and connect it to FlutterFlow. As you can see, there's nothing here. And then I've made 2 screens, standard login screen, the home screen I called streak. It's also empty at the moment. And then we need to add 2 more screens. One of them will be processing visit, and another one will be processing exercise, and the last one will be processing general. Why do we need so many processing screens, you might ask? And the answer is that for some reason FlutterFlow does not always reliably process all the functions in an action chain on the same screen, and it happens that you have to visit the screen a second time for all the data to update and execute, and we don't want that. We don't want the user to see data that is not actually current, and going through 2 different processing screens that are invisible to the user helps prevent that. Great big shout out to Boglex software, whose tutorial on how to make a custom function to calculate the days between 2 timestamps inspired me to actually come up with this method, and without whose function this whole thing would not be possible. So visit Boglex software on YouTube or on their website. Great guys. Alright, so what we need to do after we've set up those pages is go to Firestore, and in the standard user settings that FlutterFlow provides for us, we need to add a few fields. First of all, streak, which is an integer, then streak eligible, which is a boolean. We need to add last visit, which will be a timestamp, days since last visit, which is another integer, last exercise, another timestamp, days since last exercise, which is also an integer. Moving back to the login screen, set it up however you like, and the only thing we need to do is within the actions we need to add 1 field, select streak and set it to 0. We move on to streak, the home screen. Here we want to go to the screen level, add a lot of actions. We start with a conditional, and there will be a lot of conditionals in here because we have to account for different scenarios, like the user logging in for the first time, and we don't want the action chain to get stuck because the user has not exercised or visited before, for example. So stick with me. First condition is a single condition, authenticated user, and we go to last visit, confirm, and is set. So this is the first one. Last visit is set. If this is false, if the user has just created the account and has never visited before, we want to add an action, and that's gonna be navigate to processing visit. Let's make that instant. If the user is a repeat visitor, however, we're gonna add another action. All right, here we're gonna update document authenticated user reference, add field. And what we want to update is days since last visit. This is going to be from a variable. And we're going to build the custom function I told you about. Create new function. We're going to call that days between. Again, shout out to Boclick Software. Paste in this code, which I'm going to post in the comments or the post in the forum. This is going to be an integer, it's not going to be nullable. Gonna add two arguments. First one is gonna be called from, it's gonna be a timestamp, non-nullable, and second one is gonna be called to. This as well is a timestamp and it is not nullable. Save the function. And now we're gonna set the variables. Authenticated user last visit is from, and to is the current moment, so it's gonna be global properties current time. Now we're gonna add another conditional. Again, it's gonna be a single condition, and authenticated user days since last visit, confirm, not equal to specific value 0. So on the false path, meaning if it actually is 0, if the user has visited already on that same day, we want to add terminate, because we don't want the user to be stuck in an endless loop of going to the home page, coming to the processing screen, being returned, etc., etc. That makes no sense at all. And on the true path, we're gonna add another navigation action to processing visits, and we're gonna make that instant here as well. All right, we're done here. We can close that up. So this is the on page action that is happening. Next, we wanna add a few elements in the main column. Set the horizontal alignment to 0. Give it 25 padding on top. Last exercised never. We're gonna give it a conditional visibility. Gonna be a single condition. Authenticated user. Last exercise is not set. Confirm that. Then we can duplicate the X. I don't want that. So undo the conditional visibility in this case. And we're gonna set this from variable combine text. And it's gonna be last exercised. Put a space there. Add another text element. Set it from variable authenticated user. Last exercise. Timestamp format, and you can choose whatever you prefer. Let's take this. Confirm. Duplicate once more. We'll have days since last exercise. And this is gonna be days since last exercise. Confirm, confirm. This is gonna be days since last visit. And we're gonna set that to days since last visit. Confirm, confirm. So this one is gonna be last visited. This is gonna be the actual timestamp of the last visit. Again, format it in whatever way we see fit. So this one is gonna be streak, and we're gonna set it to naturally streak. Confirm. Streak eligible. Yes. Have a conditional visibility, single condition. If authenticated user streak eligible is equal to specific value true, and rather predictably this one is gonna be no, and we're gonna set it to false. One more thing we need here is a button, and make it say exercise, and this button naturally needs an action. Navigate to processing exercise, and we make that instant. Alright, last exercise has to be set. Conditional visibility, single conditions. If authenticated user last exercise is set, confirm. Moving on to the more complicated issues, let's first go to processing visit. So what we want to do here is put a timer in the main column. You will want to make that invisible in a finished product, of course, but I'm gonna leave it visible as a reminder that it's there. And we're gonna set it to 10 milliseconds. Then we go to the screen level, add an action chain. We're gonna start with a conditional single condition, and this is gonna be last exercise is set, confirm, because if it is not yet set, if the user has not exercised up to this point, otherwise the whole thing will break down. The false path needs to lead to wait, delay another 10 milliseconds, and after that we're gonna add an action timer. As I've said in the last tutorial, right now you need to have a short delay before a start timer action, otherwise it will not reliably work, so that's just another workaround. And if last exercise is set, we're gonna add an action, and that's gonna be update document authenticated user reference days since last exercise from variable, and we're gonna use the custom function we built before, days between, but this time from variable is gonna be last exercise, the timestamp, and to is gonna be global properties current time. So that's all we need to do on the screen level. Going back to the timer, gonna add another action chain here, and we're also gonna start with a conditional single condition. It's gonna be days since last exercise, confirm, and again it's gonna be is set, because if it is not yet set, we don't wanna break down the action chain. If it is true, we add another conditional, conditions single condition, and this time we're gonna set it to days since last exercise, confirm, equal to specific value 1. This is the one condition under which the user qualifies for the streak, because it's exactly 1 day, so it was yesterday that the user last exercised. So in case it is true, we add an action, update document authenticated user reference, and we are gonna set streak eligible to specific value true. Gonna add another field, last visit from variable global properties current time. If it is false, however, add the opposite action, which is gonna be the document authenticated user reference, streak eligible is false. We're also gonna add the field for last visit from global properties current time. One more thing we need to add in this case is streak specific value 0, because the user has lost the streak. If the days since last exercise is not set, we're just gonna do an update of last visit and global properties current time. And in both of these cases, after we've gone through these things, as a little workaround, we're gonna move to processing general instantly, because we need an extra screen to be sure that everything is updated properly once the user returns to the streak or home screen. Moving on to processing general, we basically do the same thing in the main column. We add a timer widget, set it to 10 milliseconds. Then we go to the screen level and set up another action chain. This time all we need to do is put in the necessary delay, 10 milliseconds, to start the timer. Back to the timer itself, we're gonna add yet another action chain. Start with a conditional, and as we go to the processing general screen from the last visit as well as the last exercise screen, this is gonna be very broadly updating a lot of things. So last exercise confirm is set. If it is false, we have an update action. We go authenticated user reference. Remember, no exercise has yet been done, so we just update days since last visit from variable custom function stays between from variable authenticated user last visit to from variable global properties current time. And if it is true, if the user has already exercised, we update the document as follows. Days since last exercise from variable custom function stays between from variable last exercise to variable global properties current time, as well as last visit. So days since last visit from variable custom functions, again days between, this case from authenticated user last visit to from variable global properties current time. We're gonna add yet another conditional, and we moved it up here so they both end up here. Conditions, single condition, authenticated user days since last exercise confirm equal to specific value 1, and again this case authenticated user reference streak eligible is true because it is 1. Last exercise is exactly yesterday. And if the user has exercised before that or on the same day, in which case it would be 0, we still want it to set to false. The last action in any case is gonna be navigate to streak, and we can do a little fade. Okay, one screen left, processing exercise. Once more, you see they're all very similar. Put a timer in here, put it to 10 milliseconds. Then go to the screen level, set up an action chain. Start with a conditional, single condition, authenticated user, days since last exercise, confirm is set. And if it is set, we want to have another conditional here. Again, single condition. If authenticated user days since last exercise confirm equal to specific value 1. We want to have two different actions, and they will definitely seem familiar by now. Update document, authenticated user, user reference, streak eligible, specific value true because it's 1 day. And here we want to set it to the opposite. Streak eligible is false. Now lastly, in both cases we end up once more with a little 10 millisecond delay, and then we start the timer action. Now we can go to the timer and add the necessary actions here. We start with a conditional action, single condition. If streak eligible is equal to specific value true, and if it is, then I'm gonna do an update of the authenticated user, user reference, add field. We're gonna set last exercise to global properties current time, and we're gonna add to the streak. So streak increment 1, and of course if the user is not streak eligible, we're gonna have a slightly different update. This is gonna be just last exercise from variable global properties current time, and there's gonna be another update down here in both cases. Update document, authenticated user, user reference. This is gonna be days, nope, not days since last visit, days since last exercise from variable custom functions days between from variable last exercise to variable global properties current time, and then we can move on to navigate to processing general, and that's that. All right, moment of truth. Let's set this up. Doesn't matter what you enter here, and if we did everything correctly, once we click on create account, it should take us to the processing visit screen, which it does, and here we are. Last exercise never. Remember, we had a conditional visibility and we have not exercised yet. Days since last exercise is 0. Days since last visit is also 0. Last visit is today. Streak is 0. Eligibility is 0 as well. Let's do an exercise. Here we are. Now we have last exercised, also today. Days since last exercise is 0 because it was today. Still no streak. Let's refresh the database. Move it 1 day back, update. Oh. Okay, and as you can see now, the last exercise is set to yesterday. The visit has again refreshed to today, doesn't matter. And we are streak eligible because the last exercise was yesterday. So if I exercise again, see it worked out perfectly. We have now a streak of 1 because as far as the program knows, we exercised yesterday and today, and it has also reset the eligibility to no, so that if I exercise again, it will not add to the streak. That's it. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or suggestions how to make the solution more elegant, please post them in the comments. Bye bye.